Good afternoon, my friends. This is Donatus King, presiding messenger, the New Orleans Center of the Society of Knowledge, and I want to share a discussion, a conversation that I had about 3 o'clock this morning. Discussion I had with God Almighty. That's right, God Almighty. And maybe you don't know that you can indeed talk to God. That's when you read the Bible talks about God talking to people all day long. And I'm here to tell you that God talks to all of us every day, all day, whether we realize it or not. But discussion that I had about 3 o'clock this morning, God said, look, what you all have been doing at the Society of Knowledge for the past 43 years, you all have been spreading and teaching and preaching a liberation theology. That's right, liberation theology. And God said, look, Donatus, in case you don't understand what that means liberation, freedom, liberating, freeing folks. Well, freeing from what? Freeing from fear. That's right, liberation, being free. And the truth shall make you free, being free. And what God was telling me is that, look, it's a lot of folks that are now walking around with chains around their minds, chains around their spirits. And those chains are placed there. It's bondage created by religious laws and commandments. That's right, religious laws and commandments. And God has been letting me know and talked to me this evening, at least this morning, said, look, that message that you all have been delivering for the past 43 years, that God is indeed Almighty, that is a message of liberation. It's liberating people from the yoke and heavy burdens, freedom from the yoke of heavy burdens, freedom from ignorance. And that freedom comes from knowing that you are indeed not only a creation of God, but you're a part of God. You are a piece of God. And because you're a piece of God, you are free. You are free from that bondage of religious laws and commandments. Now, God said, look, that's nothing new. That message that you're delivering, that God is Almighty, that message of liberation, that's nothing new. We go back into the Old Testament. God said, go in the Old Testament, look in the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 13. Isaiah chapter 29, verse 13. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouths, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of man. Fear of what? Fear of hell. See, when you know God and when you know that you're a piece of God, you're not even afraid of hell. That's freedom. Somebody can't tell you that, look, you gotta wash your hands this kind of way. You gotta say this certain prayer. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. You gotta pray on Sundays, pray on Saturdays, you gotta do. No, you're not afraid of that anymore. See, that freedom from all those different laws and commandments. When you know that you're a piece of God and you know that God is indeed Almighty. Back in Isaiah was trying to warn the people, trying to free them. A liberation theology that Isaiah was preaching. Now look, let's come back. We're talking about the Old Testament with the prophet Isaiah. Let's go in the New Testament. Jesus Christ. What was Jesus Christ saying? Look at Matthew chapter 15, verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. The commandments of men. See, Jesus said, look, you're not going around here trying to teach the doctrines and commandments of God. You're teaching the commandments of men. And you're removing people far from you. See, because when you put all these different little rules and stuff up in there, you confuse folks, and you take and blind them, and you take away their knowledge that they are indeed a part of God, a piece of God. See, the God I'm here to tell you about, we're all a part of that God, all a part of that one being. Matthew chapter 23, verse 9. 15, Matthew 15 and 9. All right, we just read that one, all right? Matthew 23, verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. See, this is a liberation theology that Jesus Christ was preaching. He was saying, look, these scribes and Pharisees out here giving you all these kind of rules and stuff. You got to do this, do that. Forget about all that. That's what Jesus, liberation theology. Okay? The more you get rid of all those precepts and commandments of men, the closer you come to God. And the closer you come to knowing that you are indeed a part of God. Not only a creation of God, but you're a part of God. And if you're a part of God, and if God is indeed almighty, then you have nothing to be afraid of. You have nothing to be afraid of while you're here living on this earth. You have nothing to be afraid of after you die. Nothing to be afraid of. Because what? When you know that you're a part of God, you know that death is not the end of you. That you are a part of the eternal. You are part of that which always was, is now, and always will be. Oh, that's that liberation theology. All right, let's go Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. See, this liberation theology is all throughout the Bible. Chapter 5, verse 1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Bondage around your brain, around your mind, around your spirit, that bondage, all them different commandments and stuff. Look, join us, the Society of Knowledge, www.godisalmighty.org. That's www.godisalmighty.org. Join us, Society of Knowledge. Okay, check us out. It's our website. Liberation theology. Set yourself free. Ephesians. Come on, I'm about to close this out now. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 15. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinance, for to make in himself, look at that, of twain one new man, so making peace. It's here in the Bible. Liberation. Free your mind. Free your mind. Coming out that old 60s, 1960s, around up in there. Free your mind, and what? Everything else will follow. And I'll close out right now, coming out of the book of John, and this is John chapter 8, verse 32. John 8:32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Liberation theology. Come on, join us. The Society of Knowledge. If you're in New Orleans, come join us in fellowship Sundays, 10 a.m., 1861 Abundant Street. We're also live on Facebook on the Messenger Facebook page. Go to our main website, and that's www.godisalmighty.org. There are links to all of our social media platforms. As I close out, is my prayer. It's my prayer that God Almighty blesses you and yours with peace. Peace coming from knowing that God is indeed almighty, and peace coming from knowing that you are indeed a part of God. Peace.